Before we begin today's episode of This Day in Irish History, I have exciting news. Check our new Substack blog, Ireland's Forgotten History, for daily stories about fascinating, often overlooked events that shaped Ireland. Find the link in the episode description and subscribe to explore Ireland's incredible past. Welcome back to This Day in Irish History. I'm your host, Raymond Welsh. Today, we turn our focus to January 16th, 1913. A day of monumental significance in Ireland's political journey. On this day, the House of Commons in London passed the Third Home Rule Bill, paving the way for Ireland to achieve a measure of self-government. This event marked a turning point in the long and often turbulent campaign for Irish autonomy within the United Kingdom. The passage of the Third Home Rule Bill was a culmination of decades of political struggle, debate, and resistance. The concept of Home Rule, granting Ireland its own parliament to legislate on domestic affairs while remaining part of the United Kingdom, had been a central demand of Irish nationalists since the 19th century. Two earlier attempts to pass Home Rule bills in 1886 and 1893 had been unsuccessful, both encountering fierce opposition, especially from unionists in Ulster and within the British Parliament. The Third Home Rule Bill was introduced in April 1912 by H. Asquith's Liberal government. The political context of the time was pivotal. The Parliament Act of 1911 had stripped the House of Lords of its ability to veto legislation indefinitely. Now, the Lords could only delay a bill for 2 years, after which it could become law with the approval of the Commons. This change was a game changer for the Home Rule cause, as the Lords had been a major obstacle to previous attempts. The bill proposed the establishment of an Irish Parliament in Dublin, with control over domestic matters such as education, agriculture, and health. However, key issues like foreign policy, defence, and trade remained under the control of Westminster. While nationalists celebrated this step towards self-determination, unionists, particularly in Ulster, vehemently opposed the bill. They feared it would lead to Catholic domination and eventually to Irish independence. The leader of the Ulster Unionist Party, Sir Edward Carson, became the face of this resistance. The opposition in Ulster was not merely rhetorical. It took on a militant edge, culminating in the formation of the Ulster Volunteer Force, UVF, in 1913, a paramilitary group dedicated to resisting Home Rule by force if necessary. Their slogan, "Ulster will fight and Ulster will be right," underscored their commitment to opposing what they saw as a betrayal by the British government. Meanwhile, nationalists led by John Redmond and the Irish Parliamentary Party worked tirelessly to garner support for the bill. They argued that Home Rule was the democratic will of the Irish people, as evidenced by repeated electoral victories for nationalist candidates in Ireland. The bill's passage in the Commons on January 16th, 1913, was a moment of triumph for nationalists. But it was also the beginning of a period of intense political tension and uncertainty. True to their word, the Lords rejected the bill later that year. However, under the terms of the Parliament Act, the bill could be reintroduced and passed after a 2-year delay, setting the stage for its final approval in 1914. Yet history intervened. The outbreak of World War I in August 1914 dramatically altered the political landscape. Implementation of Home Rule was postponed for the duration of the war. In the meantime, the Easter Rising of 1916, a rebellion for full independence, shifted public sentiment in Ireland, with many abandoning the goal of Home Rule in favour of complete separation from Britain. The Third Home Rule Bill, eventually enacted as the Government of Ireland Act 1914, never took effect as originally intended. Instead, the Irish political landscape was transformed in the years that followed. The War of Independence, 1918 to 1921, and subsequent Anglo-Irish Treaty led to the establishment of the Irish Free State in 1922, which marked a more dramatic break from Britain than Home Rule would have provided. Northern Ireland, meanwhile, chose to remain part of the United Kingdom. As we look back on January 16, 1913, we are reminded of the complex and multifaceted struggle for Irish self-determination. The passage of the Third Home Rule Bill in the House of Commons was a pivotal moment in this journey, even if its promise was overtaken by events. It represents both the aspirations and the limitations of constitutional nationalism in early 20th century Ireland. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history. Tune in tomorrow for another enlightening episode of This Day in Irish History. I'm Raymond Welsh. Slán go foil.